What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the good and bad reviews for Kirby Air Riders on the Nintendo Switch 2. So with this game, it was going to be interesting to see exactly where it did, because the previous Kirby Air Rider game on the GameCube got notoriously bad scores back in the day, but had a cult following of people that absolutely adored and loved the game. So it was going to be interesting to see exactly where it kind of lined up. And now that the game is coming out tomorrow, as of the time that I'm recording this video at least, we have got the reviews, and it's doing pretty good. 78 average, that's right around where I thought that it would be. I thought it could be in the mid to high 70s, and it's right at a 78. Now, with these scores, what we're going to do, we're going to go over the good scores, some of the middling scores, and the bad scores, and kind of just get an idea of where this game lands. But overall, you can kind of see that it's pretty much, hey, this is a lot of stuff with this game, but you know, it's a racing game, and it kind of does things a little bit differently, a little bit crazy. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but there's still a lot of content and a lot of great things in this game. So far, there's about 60-something reviews. 45 reviews have it at a positive score, so that's 73% of the total. So that's going to be about 75 and up, or 7.5 out of 10 and up. Mixed scores, there's about 16 of them, so that's going to be anywhere between like the 6 range all the way up to about 7.4 range. And then there is one negative score, so only one red negative score, which we will go over all of the good and the bad. So starting out here, we got one perfect score from Silicon Era, and they said this: I knew I'd like Kirby Air Riders since I enjoyed the GameCube original, but I didn't expect this game to feel stronger than Mario Kart World. It's so enjoyable and robust. There's room for both racers on the Switch 2, of course, but if I had to pick a favorite and never touch the other game again, I'd pick Kirby Air Riders every time. That definitely sounds like somebody who liked the original GameCube version. They would say something like that. No, but I mean, it's a great game from what I'm seeing here. We're going to go over some more reviews too. Nintendoros, they gave it a 9.5 out of 10, saying Kirby Air Riders lands on Nintendo Switch 2 as the comeback nobody expected, but once it's in your hands, it feels almost inevitable. Sakurai brings back the experimental essence of Kirby Air Ride and boosts it with the ambition of a modern console. More modes, more characters, more vehicles, and a flood of ideas that keep the formula alive without betraying its spirit. Tierra Gamer, 9.1 out of 10, saying Kirby Air Riders shines with creative and accessible gameplay that evolves from simple to deep, once again showcasing Sakurai's brilliance. Its one-button mechanic, varied modes, addictive progression, and extensive unlockable content make a fun, solid, and surprisingly complete experience. A unique title that stands out for its style, pacing, and personality. That sounds like Sakurai to a T, that last part there. All right, we got some 9 out of 10 scores. CG Magazine, 9 out of 10. Kirby Air Riders combines tight controls, excellent gameplay, and a plethora of content to make the best mascot racing game on the Nintendo Switch 2. Gaming Bible, 9 out of 10. Kirby Air Riders may fall short in terms of track selection compared to Mario Kart World, but it'll be damned if it isn't the best racing game released this year and one of the best first-party Nintendo games to launch on the Nintendo Switch 2. Screen Rant, 9 out of 10. And they said, for me, Kirby Air Riders manages to stand head and shoulders above Mario Kart World as one of the definitive racing games on the Switch platform. Atomics, 9 out of 10. For those feeling nostalgic for the GameCube version, I promise you'll have an amazing time. It's the same concept, but executed almost to perfection. So IGN Spain, Nintendo Insider, well played. All of them also gave it 9 out of 10 scores as well. So a lot of great 9 out of 10 scores there. Now let's go ahead and move on to the 8 out of 10 scores. We're going to start off with COG Connected. They gave it an 8.8 out of 10 and said Kirby Air Riders is a robust racing game for the Nintendo Switch 2 and the product of beloved game developer Masahiro Sakurai of Super Smash Bros. Fame. While I do hope Nintendo plans to add to the overall package with at least some new Air Ride and Top Ride tracks, there is still a wealth of content here for fans to enjoy. If you're a racing fan or looking for something fresh to play with friends, Kirby Air Riders should be a strong consideration for your Switch 2 library. GamePro Germany, 8.8 out of 10, saying Kirby Air Riders is the most chaotic racing game in recent years, yet it offers more depth and scope than almost any other title in the fun racer genre. Nintendo 8.8 out of 10. A lot of 8.8s here. Kirby Air Riders is a bold and addictive reinvention of the GameCube classic, full of personality and featuring city trial mode that shines brighter than ever. It's not the visual leap we expected on the Nintendo Switch 2, but it makes up for it with solid gameplay, plenty of variety and content, and a social focus that can keep it alive for years. Vandal also 8.8 out of 10, saying this: it's a video game that might initially seem off-putting due to a lack of understanding. It's difficult to grasp what's happening if you just walk past the screen without having played the game before. Even in the first few matches, it might seem simple or chaotic, but if you play it a few more times, Kirby draws you in. You gradually internalize its many unique aspects, and it becomes increasingly difficult to resist playing one more of its brief but intensely insane matches. Like Sakurai's previous games, it has the spirit of Japanese arcade games. It's a game that offers immediate fun and gets better with each playthrough, even more satisfying when enjoyed with friends online, or even better in local multiplayer. And it features a difficulty curve that is as unusual as it is rewarding, learning to control the chaos. And that's kind of my thought process after I played the online demo. Was like, okay, this is kind of chaotic and crazy, and I'm not necessarily sure what's happening. I'm not sure if I like this as much, but I know that the more I play it, I'll get better and better at it. I think it was kind of similar to like when I first played Super Smash Brothers. A lot of craziness on screen, a lot of stuff happening, but the more you kind of play it, the more you can kind of control what's happening and understand how to play the game. All right, next up is from Checkpoint Gaming, 8.5 out of 10. And they said Kirby Air Riders is a surprise contender for Kart Racer of the Year. Excelling well beyond its cult predecessor, the Pink Blob's latest adventure is filled with some excellent and surprisingly deep racing where your skill, expertise, and management are what put you ahead of the pack. Its courses are gorgeous and intricate, city trial is aptly chaotic, and the brand new road trip mode is thoroughly enjoyable, adventure filled with strategy and risk versus reward events, with a lot to see, tick off, and do, along with accessibility options to refine your experience. Kirby Air Riders is crafted to be the kart racing event of the year. Eat its dust. Mario Kart World. Vooks, 8 out of 10. Games Radar Plus, 8 out of 10. GameSpot, 8 out of 10. IGN Italia, 8 out of 10. Gameblog.fr, 8 out of 10. Hobby Consolas, 8 out of 10. Mary Station, 8 out of 10. Radio Times, 8 out of 10. IGN, 8 out of 10. Eurogamer Portugal, 8 out of 10. Spazio Games, 8 out of 10. Eurogamer Germany, 8 out of 10, and Inverse, 8 out of 10. So a lot of 8 out of 10 scores. That's where most of the bulk of the scores lie, and that's why it's right around an 8 out of 10 overall at a 78. But we do have some of the lower scores that we're going to get into, the good and the bad. These scores here with 70s are not necessarily bad, but we are going to get into some of the mixed scores. So WCCF Tech, they gave it a 7.5 out of 10. MGG, they gave it a 7.5 out of 10 as well. Combo Infinito, they gave it a 7 out of 10. So this is the first mixed score. And let's read what they had to say, what they liked and disliked about the game. Kirby Air Riders is fun, colorful, and full of modes, but ultimately too shallow to leave a lasting impression. The game runs smoothly at 60 FPS on Switch 2, and its cheerful art style fits the Kirby series, though it never showcases the hardware's true potential. The soundtrack and the full Portuguese localization, including narrator voices and cutscenes, are definite highlights. With traditional races, top-down stages, open area chaos, and small story mode, the variety is impressive, but none of the modes go deep enough to keep players engaged for long. The controls mix too many actions on a single button, creating confusion, and the visual clutter in the larger arenas hurts readability. Kirby Air Riders succeeds as a casual party experience and works well for quick sessions or for playing with kids, but it lacks the depth and competitive appeal needed to stand beside Nintendo's stronger racing titles, as in just Mario Kart World, because there's no other racing titles that they have, unless they're talking about, I don't know, Sonic. Okay. Next up is Critical Hits. Critical Hits, 7 out of 10, and they said this: Kirby Air Riders delivers a unique racing concept with counterintuitive controls and innovative mechanics. The learning curve is steep, which contrasts with the character's friendly appearance. The city challenge mode adds strategic depth, but may confuse casual players. Despite being technical and fun, the game feels out of place compared to more accessible options in the genre. All right, Game Cult, 7 out of 10 as well. They also said, with its many customization options and simply fun nature of its gameplay, Kirby Air Riders makes a strong impression from the very first sessions. Beneath a deceptive feeling of simplicity lies a surprising amount of depth, one that takes hours and hours to fully master. Still, the experience may start to feel a bit repetitive after a while. Unfortunately, the generous shots of dopamine the game delivers struggle to keep the player engaged past the 10-hour mark. There's no doubt, however, the competitive players in search of yet another frantic, fluorescent, borderline epileptic thrill ride will find exactly what they're looking for. All right, because it's a multiplayer game. IGN B also gave it a 7 out of 10. Power Unlimited, they gave it a 7 out of 10 as well. IGN Dutchland gave it a 7 out of 10. G Infinity, 7 out of 10. Jux Video, 7 out of 10. The 6 Axis, 7 out of 10 as well. And they said this: Kirby Air Riders is a charming addition to the racing genre. Its unique outlook might not appeal to everyone, but it's still liable to find its wrath of fans, just like its GameCube predecessor. Digitally downloaded gave it a 7 out of 10. Saudi Gamer, 7 out of 10. Screen Hub, 7 out of 10. All right, let's get into the 6 scores, because there are a number of 6 scores, and these are the worst scores overall. So we'll see what people who really didn't like the game too much had to say as well. 6.5 out of 10 from games.ch. Kirby Air Riders had a lot of potential as a fun racer, but it squanders much of that potential through its excessive reliance on randomness and questionable controls. Is it a totally bad game? No, it isn't, but it's not truly a great one either, and so far it's the weakest exclusive for the Nintendo Switch 2. It's definitely not weaker. I just gotta say something on this one. It's not weaker than Dragon Drive. I think this game's probably better than Dragon Drive. So I'm not sure if games.ch played that one. But all right, Stevior with the 6.5 out of 10 and said, while Air Riders might not be my personal cup of tea, it feels like a faithful and loving reward for all the folks who love the original Kirby Air Ride. Without the benefit of nostalgia though, you might find it harder to get up to speed. All right, 6.5 out of 10 from multiplayer.it, and they said this: Kirby Air Riders is a mix between a racing game and an action game, packaged in a structure reminiscent of a party game. The racing portion is certainly the most substantial, but none of its components would stand alone. Its soul lies precisely in the fusion of these genres. That's not what stopped us. However, the best Nintendo games are renowned for being both immediate and profound. Kirby Air Riders is too chaotic for immediacy and too superficial for depth. Everything else, however, is excellently executed. Numerous modes, many options, numerous characters and vehicles, good graphics, and the cutscenes that are even excessive given the context in terms of technical quality. Despite its limitations, it's still a game with original DNA. It will find its own niche among fans. Comic Book gave it a 6 out of 10 and said this: even with a ton of collectibles to unlock and challenges to take on, I can't see myself returning to Kirby Air Riders much in the future. This is a racer that tries to buck many of the genre's most traditional conventions, which at the very least makes it quite memorable. Ultimately though, the content on hand in Air Riders wears thin in no time, which leads to being a game that you'll put down sooner than you might anticipate, especially if you're not playing multiplayer with friends. I think that could happen as well. Metro Game Central, they gave it the worst score overall, a 4 out of 10 for this game. Why is it so terrible? Well, let's find out from Metro Game Central. The most baffling Nintendo release of recent years, with a quasi-remake of one of the GameCube's worst games that seems specifically designed to irritate and confuse would-be players. So they got smixed by the controls or by the chaotic craziness of City Trial mode or just how to play the game in general. So they deemed it a 4 out of 10. All right, so that essentially runs down all of the reviews, the good and the bad for Kirby Air Riders. I'm going to be picking up the game. I'm buying it physical, so I will let you guys know what I think when it comes to my live streams and just me talking about the game in general. I'll probably have a video discussing it as well. So what do you guys think about Kirby Air Riders on the Nintendo Switch 2? I think this is absolutely a successful comeback of this game, because Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube more than 20 years ago had a 61 average on Metacritic, and now it's bumped it up by 17 points to a 78. So definitely a much better game. So that's good. The amount of content in here seems pretty good as well. Although 20 years ago, there was only 28 reviews. So many people didn't even review. We didn't have as many outlets. The gaming media wasn't as big. So I do think that with this game, they did a great job of bringing it back and making it significantly better than the original game. So what do you guys think when it comes to Kirby Air Riders and what they've done here? You guys planning on picking it up? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.